I'm Paco. I'm the regional head of cyber defense at THALES. I'm actually managing a cyber defense platform within Asia Pacific. And recent years, I specialize in cybersecurity engineering, offensive security, detection engineering, and security analytics for the IT and OT environment. So, and in particular, in these few years, I am more focused on some of the critical infrastructure industry, like the aerospace and different kind of things like that. And Queenie Chen, she is our regional PCI practice manager. She lead and deliver many projects to the multinational organizations, different kind of global company as well. So I'm so excited to be back and speaking at the PCI community meeting again. So on the agenda, let me just, right. Oh, so for the agenda for today, we're going to talk about the lesson learned for the recent hacking cases. And then we're going to talk about the kind of get into the basic definitions to sort of set the stage. So to talk about what is the we are on the same page on what is defensible architecture, and highlight how PCI DSS can be used to build a defensible architecture. And at last, we will talk about the deception technology, how it can to provide an early warning for the cyber attacks as well as the unauthorized activities.
Okay, in this section, we would like to share the real-world hacking cases. Yeah, we have chosen two typical attack cases occurred early this year to understand more about the latest attack surfaces and also the attack chain. The first attack case is related to the ransomware gang exploit of a MOVEit vulnerability. A SQL injection vulnerability has been found in the MOVEit transfer web application that could allow the attacker with unauthenticated access to the MOVEit transfer database. And the attacker can further infer the database information about the contents and also the structure of the database, then allow them to execute the SQL statement to further alter or even delete the database elements. And the MOVEit vulnerability was began use on a Saturday on May 27 this year. And the second attack case is related to the vulnerability affecting the application delivery controller, ADC. And the attacker used the 0-day to drop a web shell on an organization's long production environment. And the web shell enabled the attacker to further perform the discovery on the victim's Active Directory to connect and retrieve the AD data. But later on, the attacker tried to move laterally to gain access to the domain controller, but it was blocked by the network segmentation control by the organization. What we can learn from the hacking cases, and we can see that the timing of the attack might be set during the long office hours, likely to be initiated during the weekends from the MOVEit cases. And secondly, the attack attempts to exploit the upstream or downstream third-party applications, like the SQL injection from the MOVEit cases and also the AD data exfiltration from the ADC cases. Thirdly, the attacker tends to delete the core data instead of encrypting those data found. And further, both attack access were struck through 0-day vulnerability exploitation. And what we can take from these cases, the network segmentation controls can definitely help to block the lateral movement. We can see that from the ADC case, the attacker was not able to gain the access to the domain controller because it was blocked by the organization's network segmentation control. And secondly, multi-factor authentication can also help to block the attempts from the attacker to further gain the root level access in the lateral movement. But what else can we do? In the next section, Paul will share more insight about how to create a defensible architecture.
So thanks, Queenie. So what is architecture? Refer to the sliding scale of cybersecurity. Architecture, this is actually the first step. Architecture referring to establishing planning, establishing, and upkeep of systems with security in mind. So defensible architecture is a concept on how to design, build, operate, and defend an infrastructure while applying threat modeling and analysis during each process steps in a continuous life cycle. So for the first one, about the defensible architecture life cycle, it's generally planning, establishing, and upkeep of system with security in mind. And for another tool, the second one, about the attack surface reduction, as well as continuous attack surface management, they are to enable a target and focus approach for implementing security. That, for example, is the first step is you need to identify the asset, what asset to defend, and what defensive controls to implement. And it's crucial to base these on the threat actor's mode of operation and the preferred method of attack. And for the system risk and threat analysis, it's a continuous and proactive process to understand your adversaries and their movement better, and to understand what security impact could bring to your critical functions, in order to minimize, the opportunities adversaries have to gain access to your system, as well as restricting their actions once access is gained. For system threat and risk analysis, again, it's a continuous and proactive process, right? But that must with the assumed breach and think bad, do good mindset. That's very, very, very important. The starting point is to identify what asset is important to your organization. And after that, you will need to define the list of the system interface or inputs that the attacker can use to attempt to compromise your system. That's based on the threat actor's mode of operation, as well as the preferred method of attack. Attack path analysis that shall be associated with the threat scenarios. And that must be realized by the attack path. That's very important. Why is that? It's because we need to determine the attack visibility rating. There are a couple of several rating methods about that. For example, attack potential-based approach, CVSS or EPSS-based approach. EPSS is a very hot topic recently because it's regarding to the vulnerability management. And lastly, is about the attack vector-based approach as well. So, last but not least is the risk shall be determined from the security impact of the threat scenarios and the attack visibility of the attack path, associated attack path. Considering the risk value of the threat scenarios, one or more risk treatment options could be considered. That can be, reducing the risk, avoiding the risk, or retaining the risk. There are the multiple options that you can choose. So, for the next is we'll talk about the defensible architecture life cycle. So, we were building off the kind of the structure from sliding scale of cybersecurity. It is talking about like the planning activities on how we understand your business, understand your system, understand your requirements. And then if we do our homework for that, and what are we going to do next? We can then it's about the establishing activities on how we build cybersecurity throughout the life cycle of the system. Last but not least, for the last one, so we are on the house stretch upkeep of infrastructure, but we still need to sustain it, right? But it has to be a living process, because architecture can't be a fire and forget project. Then we talk about the attack surface reduction. The easiest and the cheapest way to begin developing attack surface reduction is to deploy network security monitoring. For example, IDS, IPS are all we know, but also we need to consider another solution like the asset discovery and threat detection solution. I'm a massive fan of that. And then we know more about our network. We know how the network is operating and what is on it. Then we can start implementing network-based control. For example, the network segmentation control and the network access control, which is the NAC. And after that, we are really going to reach out the stakeholder, identifying asset owners, deploying the policy, procedures, and the processes and the plans to the operation of that asset. In my experience, it is easier to start introducing control rather than making people taking ownership of a system. And then it's a time for to know what you host in your network. It's about the inventory, right? But you need to have a clear understanding on that. And for the last one is the risk-based vulnerability management. It's a process to reduce vulnerabilities across attack surface by prioritizing remediations based on the risk posed to your organization. Unlike legacy vulnerability management, risk vulnerability management goes beyond discovering the vulnerabilities. So I'm sure that we can make use of the TRA, the targeted risk assessment, as part of the consideration. So then the continuous attack surface management for the network-centric approach is actually focus on the efficiency. I mean, like the efficacy of the prevention and detection techniques. And again, like engineering defense for modern attacks, both prevention and detection capabilities improve significantly. Data-centric approach focus on what is core to your organization. And then you can prioritize security controls around it. And then for the last one, it's about the technology-centric. There's always a disconnect between security assumptions, expectations, and realities. So that's why we can't, we can't usually think about like that always as it seems, right? So the technology-centric approach focus on the practical application on verify then trust approach to your existing environment. So for example, the logging and inspecting for the logs or something like that is sometimes, if you don't have the right data and the capability is difficult. But the detection capabilities is important, but you know, the logic behind is also important as well.
Thanks, Paho, for sharing the details of the defensible architecture methodology. And I will further share more about the, how to utilize the methodology together with the PCI DSS as a practical approach for us to build the defensible architecture in our reality. And you can see that we have different layers in the defensible architecture lifecycle. It's crucial for organizations to define the responsibility and accountability. So after they have set up the responsibility and accountability to set up a program to well and tracking all the activities and build a channel to communicate with the executive management to make sure they have a clear understanding and status to monitor the defensible architecture lifecycle management. Okay, and further, after we have built up the established and maintained the defensible architecture lifecycle management, it's crucial to move further to further reduce the attack surface with all the responsible parties in place. We have mapped all the PCI DSS requirements in the circles right next to the defensible architecture methodology. So I will highlight some of the requirements or approaches to make sure you have a clear understanding on how this approach works, but I will not going to go through it one by one because the time is already just a few minutes left. So to deploy the network security monitoring and implement the network-based controls, because the technology are already well recognized, the IDS, IPS, firewalls, network security groups, proxy, etc. The key point is that where should we put those controls at, and how could we measure the effectiveness of the control we have applied? These are the common queries raised by various organizations. How could we measure that? Whether we have put the tools and technologies at the right place. So that's the good reference. You can refer to the PCI DSS requirements. You have a very clear requirements, approaches, and good practices to tell you where you should put those, implement those controls and how you can go to validate those controls. Let's take the network-based controls for example. You can consider to place the restriction to restrict the access to the core data, to restrict the network connectivity between the untrusted network and the trusted network. And also you can isolate the environments that handles the core data from the remainder network of the organization. So for the risk-based vulnerability management, Paho has also mentioned the target analyst, the target risk analyst will be a good reference for you to determine the critical control activities to recognize, prioritize, control, and mitigate the highest risk items, and to further reduce the likelihood of being exploited. And further, to continuously maintain the attack surface management, you can apply in 3 areas: network-centric, data-centric, and technology-centric. In short, please remember we have all the advanced technologies and tools at hand. How to maximize their capabilities, to remember to ensure that you have prioritized all the controls to focus on the core data you have identified through the data-centrics. And then you need to enable the audit trail, the audit logs, to receive all the logs and security events from different layers of detection and prevention tools, and then utilize the intelligent tools to help you to analyze and also correlate the logs and security events to provide the early warnings if there's suspected compromise detected.
All right, so for the deception technology, I'm a massive fanboy at deception technology. So why is that? It's because of that actually help us to engage the threat in a controlled environment and produce valuable threat intelligence. At the same time, that can help to minimize the qualification time, and with the pre-qualified detections. And for example, as you can see, there's a honey dog there, which is the fake credit card number. And there is a server decoy, which is the running the vulnerable SFTP service. But wherever it is, that must be vulnerable. Because, why is that? Because of that can help to simulating the weak and attractive IT components to lure the attackers. Eventually, the hacker will be hunted, right? So that's a very important part.
So thanks. I would like to summarize the key takeaways from the presentation today. From the hacking case, we can show that the attacker might initiate the attacks during the long office hour with zero-day reliability to export the system and further discover access to upstream or downstream third-party application and to retrieve the data and even delete them. And how could we lower our risk by not being attacked? We can utilize the defensible architecture, and through the methodology and approach we have shared, we can utilize the advanced technology like the threat intelligence, MFA, segmentation controls, etc., to help us to strengthen our security posture of our environment. And we can utilize the deception technology to help to recognize the footprint of a potential attacks and give us the early warning. And organizations also can build their own defensible architecture with a good reference from the PCI DSS, as there are many detailed requirements and approaches and good practices to clearly indicate how you can implement those controls and how to validate the effectiveness of those controls. And most importantly, how to maintain the defensible architecture in a secure manner. You can also find the PCI DSS standard is also illustrate how to measure the controls are still remain effectively after you have deployed those controls in place. Okay, I think that's all we would like to share. But I'm sorry in that rush, and if you guys have any interest on the topics we have shared, feel free to contact us and communicate with us in the breaking section.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.